And now, Brandon Six Boy Schaub.
Yeah, what's poppin', fam? It is Monday. Boy, this month is flying by, isn't it? It is Monday, June 23rd, 9 a.m. on this glorious Austin, Texas morning. How we doing, fam? Fantastic. Your boy messed up his quad. I'm just getting older, man. These injuries are popping up. A few years ago, blew my hammies, quad, muscles in my legs have always been tight. I refuse to stretch. That's probably part of the problem. And then also just being 40-ish, you know? I was at my son's baseball, practice training. There's a bunch of kids, and they needed a base runner, and these kids couldn't throw me out. And then I knew it was hot as shit out, and one of the kids like, one more time, man, I'm going to get you out. I'm like, yeah, right, dude. And your boy put on the jets. And my quad said, that's enough. And so your boy blew out his quad, and I am limping around.
When you said quad, I thought you meant your actual Can-Am 4x4.
No. Literally my quad went loud, and I just fell to the ground like a sniper again. Your boy's still safe, though. But for what? For what? So stupid. So stupid. It's all good. I just got to chill out. Start doing jiu-jitsu around town. Victor Hugo, who I think now that Gordon, with his health stuff is out, he's probably the number one guy at heavyweight. And there's some monsters at Six Blade Gym there. So it's great, man. It's good to be back into it. But, maybe I just went too hard in the paint last week. Worked out with Tim Kennedy and his boys. And then went with Victor Hugo and his monsters, a bunch of black belts, and then decided to try to flex on these 9-year-olds running bases. Dads, be careful out there, man. I'm like Marty McFly. You know when they call him chicken and he just can't refuse a fight? When someone calls me out, dude, I had to flex on these little bastards. Your boy is still safe. Don't get twisted. But it cost me dearly because now I'm limping around everywhere. And T has tryouts for this major team, not just a majors team, highly ranked in the nation majors team. So I need to get to work. I need to bend the knees and use my legs. Boy, it's bad timing. All good, baby. All good. Because in the fight world, I couldn't wait to get in here. It's I guess you would say events like this in the Real Housewives of the UFC that make coming in on a Monday so fun. Because sometimes, you guys know how it is, sometimes you just got a terrible UFC Apex Fight Night card and there's no news, there's no drama. It's like, I'll find something to run on. And it can be tough. Not that I ever don't like my job, but sometimes you're scraping at the bottom of the barrel to get some content out there. And then other times, there's weekends like this. You got the Jon Jones drama. You got all sorts of stuff popping up. You got Liver King calling out Joe Rogan. It's just mayhem, man. It's mayhem. We'll start with Jon Jones. I'll get to the UFC with Khalil Rountree and Jamahal Hill probably after this. And then also this weekend, you got International Fight Week. So you got a lot of stuff popping. If you're a fan of mixed martial arts, you got a lot of stuff popping at Jake White, Jesus Christ, Jake Paul fighting this Saturday for those of you that care. But let's just jump right into it. Oh, and for that UFC, was that 317?
Yeah.
International Fight Week. I'm going to do a special preview show with my boy Jesse on Fire, who's an Austin native as well. So me and him will be breaking that down. We'll shoot that on Thursday. So look forward to that. A little more content for you guys out here in Austin. The big cards, me and Jesse are going to get together. We got some special guests we'll bring in, stuff like that. But that should be fun. That dude knows his stuff. And I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody who knows fighting I can go back and forth with. So that's how it came about. And he's a great dude. But let's get into the Jon Jones news. So it was announced very underwhelmingly from Dana White after the UFC fight on Saturday at the press conference that Jon Jones has decided to retire, and now Tom Aspinall is the undisputed heavyweight champion. When I first heard that, we didn't know about the criminal charges, right? Which is a misdemeanor. We'll get to that. But we didn't know about the criminal charges, any of that stuff, the hit and run and fleeing the scene and all that garbage. We didn't know. So when I heard Jon Jones retire, I'm like, okay. A lot of fans are going to be mad at Jon, right? You guys are mad at Jon for holding up the division. He screwed over Tom Aspinall. I get all that. Your anger or your frustration shouldn't be with Jon. I'm not defending Jon terribly. Clearly, he's outside the octagon, has some flaws. I'll put it that way. Has some flaws, to say the least. Not defending him as being a good human being. I will defend him for his skill set inside that cage. Whenever I say a good thing about Jon, it's always either about training or his time inside the octagon. Never about his personal life. That I don't defend. So the anger comes from him holding up the division, right? And Tom Aspinall has been waiting for his shot, and it's holding up the division, and Tom's this interim champ, and Jon needs to fight, and we heard they agreed to the fight. Again, your frustration shouldn't be at Jon. He's literally doing what's best for himself. No matter if you like it or not, he's like, all right, the UFC is going to let this ride. Fuck it. I'm going to keep going with this. Let's do it. And the UFC brass, and it's not just Dana. This isn't picking on Dana. It's just the UFC brass allowed him to get away with this. In different cases, Henry Cejudo, certain guys, GSP, there's certain guys, even Khabib, when his father died, remember he said he was retired, and the UFC kind of kept pushing him to come back. But they move on pretty quickly. We've never seen it, and that's how good Jon is. And especially it's the current status of the heavyweight division. They need Jon. So the UFC was willing to kind of do something out of character and just let him kind of dictate when he fights, which is insane. I'm with you guys. It's so frustrating. But the UFC has the power to go, dude, this is the date. And we're talking a year ago. After beat Suragan, they should have went, cool, great job. We let you fight Suragan, an easy matchup for you. You kind of waited till Francis to leave. We gave you Suragan, and then we gave you freaking Stipe, right? Like, these are two cupcake matchups for you. This is so easy for you. And you've made money, cool. Now we scratch your back. You scratch ours, right? Now, here's the date. We need to fight Tom Aspinall. And if he goes, nah, I'm just not ready, I went, all good. Take your time, but we're going to strip you of the belt. Jon's been stripped before. It's never really affected him, but this is a UFC issue, not a fighter Jon Jones issue. I'm not on board with the consensus that Jon's scared of Tom, that Jon's scared of Francis. I know it's fun to say, and it builds up Tom and stuff like that. I know, and I can see how you guys come to that conclusion. I don't think it's a matter of that. I think this fight, and I don't think Dana lied to us either. I think Jon held out for a certain amount of money. And the UFC, after negotiations, after pretty bitter back and forth, which is maybe the reason why this took so long, the UFC finally agreed to the amount that Jon wanted. And this is all reported by Ariel Helwani, the best in the business. When he's on record, you can take it to the grave. So let's say Ariel's correct on this, which I think he is. The UFC granted Jon the amount of money that he wanted to fight Tom Aspinall. Dana says this fight's basically done. To be exact, he said this fight is done. It's going to happen. Despite whatever you guys think about Dana, I don't think that's Dana, playing behind the scenes and forcing Jon's hand. I literally think this fight was agreed upon. Even Tom, leaked some info about it. Jon, then Dana says it. So you get the whole UFC brass behind it. I think this was meant to happen. I really do think this was supposed to happen this year. I think they were kind of waiting for the TV right deal stuff to get figured out, which is figured out. They just haven't announced it yet. And then this was going to get announced. But then we find out unexpectedly to Dana and the UFC that Jon's like, I'm out. I thought that's weird to go this whole time and then just dip out. Again, I don't sign on that he's scared of Tom. And then you get the police report. Now, do we know when this incident happened, Chin? Was it in February?
Yeah.
So I think that was what probably Jon's main concern was seeing how that was going to kind of play out. And once this got announced and the UFC became privy to it, Jon was like, oh shit, not only am I holding up the division and he's getting so much flack for it, but now this police report comes out. So the UFC's sure as fuck not going to announce a fight with this lingering. So Jon and Dana, I don't want to go that far. I think Jon was like, all right, best thing to do is until this gets settled, I'm going to retire and Tom can fight. If you're a Jon fan, this is, I can't believe I'm saying this, not the legal stuff, but Tom fighting Jon, whether it's Almeida, whether it's Cyril Gane, whether it's Alex Pereira, whoever, either of those three, that's who's going to be, right? Jon having the ability to watch Tom more is actually an asset for Jon. I think when the allegations came out, I think that you're still going to get even more so a Jon Jones Aspinall fight now. I didn't take this as, oh my God, it's over. I thought, we're still going to get the fight, but it's just going to be a little longer. And now Jon's not going to get the backlash for holding up the division. So in Jon's eyes, and he's been through this how many times now? In Jon's eyes, it's like, all right, let's wait for this court stuff to figure itself out. And then Tom's going to fight, knowing Tom maybe twice before he fights Jon. And that just lets Jon download more information on Tom. Because Tom is an absolute monster. And he's had how many fights in the UFC? He's undefeated, starches everybody, right? But we still don't know much about him. He's had maybe a cumulative time in the octagon, 10-ish, 12 minutes. He's starching everybody. So we don't know a ton about him. Now, we think he's the best heavyweight on the earth. We think. We don't know. We know a lot about Jon. We know a ton about Jon. We knew a ton about Stipe. We knew a ton about insert DC or any of these heavyweights. You don't know really how good Tom is. We assume he's this monster. We've never really seen him get put in difficult situations. We've never really seen him get dragged into those later rounds. We've never seen him get taken down. We've never seen how he responds after losing a round. We don't know. We don't know. And it could be the case, I don't think it is, but it could be the case where Tom, struggles against Almeida a little bit. And Jon at least gets a glimpse of, okay, I found a weakness. Because right now there's no real weaknesses on Tom that we know of because he hasn't really fought stiff competition. It's not his fault. It's the state of the heavyweight division. So we don't know much about this young English lion that moves like a fucking gazelle but weighs as much as a fucking elephant. We don't know much about him. We know from what we hear and what we see kind of that he's pretty fucking well-rounded in everything. And the rest of the division's not. So he's going to reign supreme over that division. But is it really that impressive? There's not that many good heavyweights. And there sure as fuck isn't enough heavyweights for him to ever be called the greatest of all time right now. If he won his next 6 fights, nobody's really calling him the greatest of all time. There's no competition. So, looking the glass half full, I think because the division's so weak, because Tom is going to be active, because it gives Jon more time to study his opponent in Tom Aspinall, who we don't know a ton about, I think it's actually gives you more hope that this fight's going to come to fruition. I do think we still get Tom and Jon. And when you look at the police report, it's kind of some bullshit because remember, it's still a misdemeanor in New Mexico. So he's been caught way worse before, and he pays the penalty. He might do some community service, but he never gets penalized for it, really. And he continues to keep doing it. And Jon's how old? 38, 39? This is just who Jon is. Now, people make mistakes, no doubt. Trust me, I get it. You make mistakes. A lot of the MMA fan base will forgive you if you keep fighting. But this is what, his 7th time being caught? And also, this is just him getting caught. This stuff, this has been going on for how long throughout his career? Just this bullshit all the time, nonstop. Those are just the times you know of. So if you have a friend who drinks and drives, he's probably doing it a ton, but he only got caught once. Jon's been caught several times. This is just what he does. This is Jon Jones. He's this phenomenal fighter. He's a wild boy. That's what makes him a great fighter. But unfortunately, it doesn't make you a great citizen. It doesn't make you a great person. That's the truth. He's not the best guy. He's the best fighter, and that craziness makes him that great fighter. But that chaos and all that, that's Jon, man. Unfortunately, that's him. Now, it's very, he flees the scene. This girl gives a police report, so it's her word against his, right? And then the police obtain cell phone records from him, which is, and his lawyer came out and talked about this, which you don't really do that. They're not doing this unless it's Jon Jones. So he's not going to learn from this. Nothing is just how it goes for Jon Jones. Nothing's going to come of this. He might pay a fine. Might have to do some community service, maybe, if that, in this. And then he's back on the streets doing this again and again till eventually something like this is going to happen and somebody's either going to die or get seriously injured, and then maybe. But even then, remember, he hit that pregnant lady. Nothing. What happened to him? So the sad thing is Jon's doing this all the time. So you remember when he was posting videos of him working out and people were like, man, he's finally getting it together and all this shit. He's never getting it together. You're not 37 still doing this shit. And then one day at 45, I'll suddenly get your shit together. This is Jon Jones. This is what it is. And unfortunately, because he's never served actual hard time or paid any sort of discipline for this behavior, he's just going to continue to do it. That's what he does. So I actually think, especially in Jon's case, and they did agree to a certain amount of money already, I think for Jon, the best way for him to get over all this stuff and get his fan base, he's really worn out the support of the UFC fan base. He really has. Same as Conor. They've worn it out. They've really screwed over a lot of people that support them over and over again. And eventually they just go, fuck it. And that's where Jon's at. But, this MMA fan base, the one way to get some support back, there's only one way, and it's by fighting. I would be willing to bet that before this year's over, you get announced Tom versus Jon. Still, even after all this malarkey, that still happens.
This year, you said?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but it gets announced this year.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So Jon's retirement, bullshit. He agreed to the money. The UFC's finally going to give him what he's worth, and he's going to walk away from that? Not a chance. Let's take a little break, kids, and we'll jump right back into this Real Housewives of the UFC drama going on with Jon Jones, because I need you guys that are looking for the perfect buzz without the hangover, I need you to check out Breeze. That's spelled B-R-E-Z, an incredible functional beverage company that is changing the game on how we drink. Their line of feel-good tonics offers a unique blend of hemp-derived THC and CBD, functional mushrooms, nootropics, all right? And it gives you these crazy euphoric effects without the traditional downsides of alcohol. Forget alcohol, man. That's so 1990. And no, these aren't like your typical edibles, all right? You'll feel each blend within 10 minutes, and the effect will last about an hour and a half. We've all had those edibles that just won't stop. That's why your boy doesn't do that stuff anymore. We've had some weird nights. Sometimes those edibles last way longer than you want, but that's why Breeze, they got you covered. So whether you're looking to turn up, tune in, or tap out, Breeze has a beverage to help you feel the way you want to feel. So if you're ready to experience the future of drinking, head on over to try.drinkbreeze.com/Schaub and use the code Schaub for a $5 credit and free shipping on your first order. Breeze, drinking has evolved. Consult with your physician before use if you're pregnant, nursing, have any known suspected allergies or medical conditions, or are taking any medications. FDA has not evaluated these products or safety or efficacy. Products are intended for 21 plus. And there's some people criticizing Dana like, this is how you announce that Tom's the undisputed world champion? You just do it after a press conference, some shitty fight night in the Middle East? Yeah, he just found out, man. What do you want? Now, I do think they're going to do something more celebratory this weekend at International Fight Week. I bet they fly Tom in and kind of do this whole spiel, and treat him right. But what do you want from the guy? The fuck's he supposed to do? Dana was like, I just got a call last night. Jon retired. And then you have the clip where that guy goes, did you know about this thing that happened in February? He's like, no. And people are going to assume that's why he retired. It is a reason he retired. But it's very temporary. I guarantee you Jon comes back. Guarantee you. Play it for me, Chin?
Yeah.
Did you know about the stuff that came out of Albuquerque last night?
I saw it today. When I saw it today, I said, oh, everybody's going to think this is why he retired. Maybe that is why he retired. Who the hell knows?
That's why he
man?
temporarily retired.
Yeah, I don't know. These are all questions you got to ask him. We had the fight done. You saw me talking about it very confidently.
I think that's the truth.
This fight was going to happen.
Absolutely, that's the truth.
He changed his mind.
Yep. He didn't change his mind. This put it on hold. That's all it is. I do find this, again, I'm not saying Dana knew, but I do. Listen, when Dana is very privy to things that are going on well before the public knows. You got probably your biggest star in the UFC, let's say Connor's out of it for now. Your biggest star is Jon or Alex, right? 1A, 1B. And he gets in this legal trouble and nobody tells you. I find that hard to believe, but maybe he's right. Maybe he's right, or maybe they didn't think it would come out, or maybe, I don't know. But I think this is why Jon's hasn't really been training, kind of, shooting that bullshit reality series. He's like, the fight's not going to happen because if this gets that disaster that happened in February comes to light, I'm not going to let that overshadow this fight. Like, let's let that clear out, and then I'll do my fight. Now, here, the other thing about Tom is, and everyone's like, oh, it'd be so good for Jon's legacy if he beats Tom. You might be right. And I tend to agree with you. And I do think Tom's that talented. But let's say in this crazy world that we live in the Real Housewives of the UFC, would you feel the same way if, let's say none of this happened, and Jon fought Tom Aspinall at International Fight Week, and Jon beats him, right? Let's say Jon beats him. And then retires. I'm like, oh, damn, that was dope. And then Tom goes on to lose his next 3 out of 4. Then, is it that impressive? Then what do you say about Jon? You're like, man, Tom, he wasn't who we thought he was. Yeah, because none of us really know. I think that's where Jon's at. Yeah, he looks good, but he hasn't done anything of note that, if I do beat him, that it's this big milestone in my career. Look at my fucking resume, dude. Like being Stipe, even though he's so over the hill, okay, regarded as one of the greatest of all time. He's had a full career in the UFC. I can see, and it's an easy fight. I can see that. Cyril Gane, all right, hasn't done a lot in the heavyweight division, but big scary guy, but has this glaring hole that I can take advantage of. It's easy payday, and I get the belt at heavyweight. Okay, I can see that. Then with Tom, it looks like it's gonna be your toughest matchup, man. But the truth is, we don't know. Nobody knows. Until Tom fights more well-established heavyweights, people keep saying, oh, man, he's ducking him. It'd be a huge feather in his cap if he won. Would it? How do you know? What happens if Francis came over and starches Tom? What if Tom goes on a 4-fight losing skid? All this shit could happen. The probability of it happening, not high, but that shit, we don't know, is my whole point. We don't know. But I think this happening to Jon, again, glass half full, fam. I do think this puts a little more pressure on the UFC. Now, remember, this isn't 10 years ago before the UFC had shareholders and before it was just Dana and the Fertittas calling the shots, and that's how it was. Well, now they have stockholders. Now it's a straight business. Now they have to, make Netflix happy or whoever they sign with, Amazon, Apple, and ESPN. They have technically bosses. They have partners. They have shareholders. The heavyweight division's a disaster. And you let these super fights slip away throughout history. And the heavyweight division, we were told we're going to get this big-time heavyweight fight, this super fight between Jon and Tom. It never happened. You let Francis walk away and do his thing. Okay. I think by Jon having this issue and getting put on the sidelines and the UFC making these promises of this super fight, the fan base just isn't going to be happy or go away quietly if you announce Tom versus Cyril Gane. That fight is pure garbage. That fight is trash. So what do you do? Well, Jon's out for a little bit, but I do think he comes back. There is a world where I know Dana, notoriously holds grudge. Trust me, I get it. But he's a businessman first. And I know him and Francis don't see eye to eye. But I do think this puts more pressure on the UFC brass, not just Dana. Dana might have an issue. But when he goes into that board meeting and they go, what are we going to do to make up for Jon? What's your plan, dude? Cyril Gane, they're like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody's going to watch that. What's the plan, dude? So really, if I'm part of Dana's team and I'm like, how can we satisfy the fan base or the shareholders or our partners? There's a number of ways we can go. And now we have to. Before we didn't. Before we had Jon, Tom, and then we'll deal with it after that. That's gone right now. That's put on hold. So what do we do? Well, Tom's undisputed heavyweight champion. Okay, who's he going to fight? Cyril Gane, shut your mouth, you're fired. Almeida, the guy that only does jiu-jitsu that nobody knows? Get the fuck out of here. Okay, who else is out there? Who else would draw back in the fan base? Who else can attract the fans to get excited to pay $80? What can we do? We've promised this big fight. Alex Pereira. Yeah, you could do that. You do that. For the current roster, you could do that. Alex Pereira, it's kind of the David versus Goliath fight. Everyone, even though people love Tom, he doesn't have a bad bone in his body, which is one of the reasons he's in this situation, but that's a different conversation. But Tom would be the guy that everyone's rooting against for that fight, which isn't a bad thing, Tom's the bigger dude, natural heavyweight, but Alex is a superstar. Walks around about 240. You could do that. And for whatever reason, Alex wins that fight. Oh my God, we're going Sizzler. And everyone's going to tune in to see just in case he lands that big shot. I could definitely break down that fight. I think it's a horrific fight for Alex, but it will sell. We could do that. You probably your biggest star versus the new undisputed heavyweight champ. Okay. And he's the underdog. We can get behind that. The countdown, the build up to that's going to be fun. That'd be great. And people are tuning in just in hopes that Tom is aware of the entertainment value and he's going to keep it on the feet for at least a minute or two. Okay, take my money. I'm in for that. That could happen. So you got Aspinall's one. And the other one that would satisfy the entire fan base and get everybody excited, and he's out there and he fights for a terrible promotion that would probably let him go, is Francis Ngannou. Give you Tom Francis, and that would knock everybody's dick in the dirt. You have to put your pride to the side, Dana. And I think you're in a situation where you almost have to. You almost have to. Now, it's not one or the other. It's not, all right, let's just do Alex. That's going to satisfy the fans for a few months. But then after that, Jon's still dealing with this shit. And we're still in 2025, early 2025. So, and Tom wants to be active. You could announce Alex, and if Tom wins that, you're like, oh shit, there we go. And people still won't give Tom his flowers because he's beaten a complete, light heavyweight that moved up, and he's a striker and has holes in his grappling. Okay, so people are like, all right, he's still not our champ yet. Okay. But at least that would get people to be more aware of Tom. So you could do that. And that's going to make the UFC all the money and all the eyeballs. So there you go. But then after that, you can still negotiate with Francis. You could do Tom, Alex. That's huge, right? You could do that. That's massive. And then a few months down the road, still do Francis, Tom. Massive, dude. Massive. And then if Tom beats Francis, well, now we're cooking. And then the final boss, the bad guy, is done dealing with all these legal shit, and you have Jon Jones waiting for you at the end of the fucking tunnel. And then you have a true heavyweight star that's beat arguably the number one heavyweight in Francis. Remember, he walked away as champ, didn't lose it. Walked away as champ, didn't lose in MMA, starched that big giant fucking Brazilian in PFL. So he's still the man in MMA. He lost in boxing twice, but that doesn't matter. It just made his star bigger. So you beat Francis, who's regarded as the number one heavyweight, really. So you beat him, you beat their huge star Alex, and what's waiting for you at the end of the fucking tunnel? Finally, Jon Jones. And that's when you make the fight. And that gets Jon out of bed. That gets Jon motivated. That gets Jon, out of this dark light that he's getting shined on him right now because of his own fucking terrible decisions. So for Tom, and I know everyone's feeling bad for him, he hasn't been active. Jon kept the heavyweight division tied up and blah, blah, blah. I get it. But this actually could be a good thing for Tom, because this could work out for Tom where he fights Alex, where he'd be a massive favorite. Then this forces their hand to negotiate with Francis. Massive fight, number one versus number one. And then at the end of the day, you get what you always wanted, Jon Jones. That's how I think it goes down. Be dope. Be great. Be great for the sport. And the heavyweight division, oh my God, do they need this. That division is the worst division I've seen in combat sports in 10 years. That is the worst division, with 0 stars, 0 excitability, 0 marketing pieces. There's nothing we can do about it. But what we can do is move up our face of the company from light heavyweight to fight him. Okay, that does it. What we can do is put our ego to the side and sign Francis Ngannou, who should have probably never left. Okay, that'll do. What we can do is negotiate with Jon, which the money which we promised him before, let this legal battle die down, and then bring him out one last time. And that would set Tom up perfectly. And the juice is worth the squeeze. All this time waiting, that would be a payoff that he'd go, okay, that was worth it. That was worth it. Because right now it ain't. If they decide not to do that and not listen to my dumbass, which if I'm thinking of it, they're thinking of it. Trust me, I'm not that smart. But if they decide to go, nah, we don't want to do Alex like that, and Alex doesn't want the fight, we're going to give him Cyril Gane and fucking Almeida and then Curtis Blades again. All right, well, that's your own doing, man. You're shooting yourself in the foot. No one gives a fuck about those fights, and it doesn't help Tom Aspinall. No one gives a shit if he beats Cyril Gane. No one gives a flying fuck if he beats Almeida. They just don't. They don't. And to that end, nobody really gives a flying fuck about Alex Pereira and fucking homeboy again. What's his name? Fucking the Dagestani who just beat him.
Ankalaev.
Ankalaev.
Yeah.
Don't give a. That's getting 200 views. No one gives a fuck about that rematch. Please stop coughing.
I got sick or something.
Are you sick?
I don't know.
That's not good. But for the UFC, they can do the cookie cutter. Okay, Ankalaev rematch with Alex Pereira. Tom's going to fight Cyril Gane and Almeida. We're not worried about John. We're not going to sign Francis. And my God, that's when you know Dana is coasting it and he's nowhere near involved as he used to be. Because the old Dana is going to make the fights I just told you about. I guarantee you. No, I think he's going to do it. I really do. Otherwise, you're getting horrible fucking fights. Horrible. Horrible, horrible. So we'll see. When I heard this, originally, I'm like, what the fuck? Doesn't make sense. This fight was already announced. And they gave John the money. And then the legal troubles came and went, oh, that makes sense. Boy, we're definitely still going to get John back in the UFC. That's my take. And at the end of the day, this is all good for Tom Aspinall. If they do it the right way. If they actually think Tom's as good as he has shown he is on tape, they believe in him, they're going to give him those fights. If they're like, he's just not the guy, then you're going to get the Cyril Gahn, the Almeidas that nobody gives a fuck about. Your move, UFC. Dear God, make the right choice. You know? Dear God, make the right choice. But what's crazy, this is just, that's John. That's his lifestyle. Anybody surprised by this hasn't been following the UFC long enough, unfortunately. And this is just the times you know that he's gotten caught. He's doing this all the fucking time and getting away with it. It's like your buddy drives drunk. Well, you have that buddy drive drunk all the fucking time. He knows Uber and all that shit. Just hasn't been caught, but he does it all the time. John's been caught about 7 times in his career. That's how often he's doing this bullshit. 7 times? God, dog. But again, there's no repercussions. There's no penalties. So why would he change? Why would he change? His wife stays with him. He gets to hold on to the belt. The UFC kisses his ass. Why would he change? What do you expect? I bet Alex Pierre is getting a call this morning. And I bet you they announced something at International Fight Week.
With Alex.
I think so. I think so. What a shame would it be if they're like, all right, guys, Tom's coming back. Cyril gone. Dude, people are going to fucking riot like it's no King's Day. People are going to riot like it's a fucking BLM march in fucking 2021. People would be, the UFC fan base would be so upset. Yeah. It's such a disservice to Aspinall. Such a disservice. What else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Look at that fucking division. Get the hell out of my face. It's atrocious. Poor Tom. Just born at the wrong time. Now, he's going to be born at the right time if the UFC plays ball. Alex, come get some. Francis, come get some. And I favor Tom in both those fights. I favor Tom in all 3 of those fights, including John now. Because the knock against John is, this legal battle is happening. Yes, I do think he comes back, but he's going to be older. He's going to be slower. Now he's focused on this. But on the other end, okay, he gets to see more footage on how Tom fights a straight striker, how Tom fights a guy like Francis, who actually has big knockout power. Because right now, the only kind of, I don't want to even say blemish because he hasn't been knocked out, but the only kind of criticism you could give Tom is gets a little wild, leads with his chin. You know, he'll play the rock'em sock'em robots. He'll take chances at heavyweight. Okay. And with guys like Francis who hit that hard, that could be trouble. With a guy like Alex, I don't know if his power translates. Heavyweight's a different animal. Tom does have a chin. You see in the Sergey Pavlovich fight, you see in these other fights, the Curtis Blades fight. Tom, so far what we've seen, he has a fucking chin. But he hasn't been hit by a guy like Francis. You know? So the only really knock that we've seen in the 10 minutes of footage that we have on Tom is he gets a little wild, leads with his chin. That could be trouble against the right guy. That right guy's Francis. That right guy's Alex. But now, going back to Alex, I don't know if his power translates to heavyweight. You're talking about a completely different animal. It might. He lands that left hook. It might. I don't know, though. You know? Love to find out. I hope the UFC does the right thing. They have a chance to do the right thing. They have the chance to win back the fan base. They have a chance to make Tom the face of the UFC. They have a chance to make it right. After allowing Jon to not fight and drag Tom out through in the prime of his career and miss out on how much money, they have a chance to go, my bad, we're going to make it up to you. Here's Alex. Here's Francis. At the end of the day, here's Jon. Okay, now you made it right. But if you go fucking Cyril Gahn, fucking Volkov, Curtis Blades for the fucking third time, then Almeida, buddy, they don't give a fuck about him. You're going to find out. Depending on what they do, you're going to find out. I hope they do the right thing. I hope they do the right thing. We'll see. Taking a little break here, kids, because this episode of the Schaub Show is brought to you by Progressive Insurance, my fave. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little money there, hoping it all works out? Well, the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance and they'll find you the options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates, price coverage match limited by state law, not available in all states. Progressive. Last little break, kids, then we're jumping right back into this juicy ass episode of the Schaub Show because you're going to have some drinks this weekend. It's International Fight Week. Who doesn't want to celebrate with their boys? You're like, man, I probably shouldn't have that one, man. I'm just going to have a few, but not that one that puts me over the top. Well, go ahead and have that one because I got you covered. My friends at Sure Shot, the world's first alcohol detoxifier that reduces blood alcohol content in as little as 30 freaking minutes. This is real. This isn't snake oil. You literally have some drinks. You drink this and you get a sharper mind and body, liver support, well-being boost, gut support, hydration. So if you're going to drink, bring your partner in crime. We're talking about Sure Shot. All right. So go to sureshot.com, use the promo code Brendan. You get 10% off, or go to Bevmo, your local Bevmo around here in Texas. They got the Amazon shop, TikTok shop. They're all over. It's Sure Shot. Sureshot.com, promo code Brendan, 10% off. You're welcome. What else you got, Jen?
We had some fights over the weekend.
You did have some fights. Man, I'm just going to call it like you said. Terrible fucking card. I watched all of them. Terrible fucking card. The fight that I absolutely loved. Oh, Nazim and Moda. Fantastic fight. Top 5 fights of the year. Outside that, you basically had all fucking boring decisions. What'd you think was going to happen? Look at the names on the card. Look at the majority of the names nobody can pronounce on the card. You know you're getting decisions when you see those names. It's just what they do. Really, it's what they do. The card was fucking terrible. Really the only one worth talking about. Listen, Fiziev and
Ignacio.
Yeah. That was a fun fight. I love the footwork. Fiziev looked fantastic. He's back. He looked fantastic. That was an entertaining fight. I'll take that. That wasn't a bad one. In the main event, in hindsight, we probably should have called this Khalil Rountree, Jamahal Hill. It's like when Francis and Derek Lewis fought, we're like, oh, so this, and I was telling my family too, I'm like, this ain't going past the first round. Everybody sit down. Don't blink. Don't blink. After the second round, I'm like, all right, man, they're warmed up. Don't blink. Halfway through the fourth, I'm like, here we go. They're loosening up now. Fifth round. I was so wrong. I'm sorry everyone watched this and I ruined your day. But yeah, Khalil Rountree coming off a big loss. Jamahal Hill, was this his third loss in a row? So these guys are going to be a little hesitant. There's a lot on the line. The loser of this, it's a fork in the road, especially for Jamahal Hill. Khalil Rountree was the favorite here for good reason. With Jamahal Hill, I like Jamahal. I know he gets a lot of flack online. I do think he's a talented fighter. He's at a serious fork in the road because I know he had the injury, but this is 3 losses in a row. He's just not evolving. He's not getting better. I know he trains out of Detroit or some shit like that with his home team. I don't know if he just doesn't have the right coaches around him, if he doesn't have the right team around him. He's obviously not fighting with a major team. He just doesn't evolve. He hasn't gotten better since he's the same guy that we've seen since when was his debut? I mean, he hasn't looked any better or looked any different since he got into the UFC from Dana White Contender Series in 2019. In 6 years, he looks exactly the same. And if anything, he's going backwards. You know, they have him ranked number 4, probably 8 now with 3 losses, maybe 10. I just don't see it ending well for him. You know, that division's tough for a guy with his style. Very tough, who's just looking for that power shot. He's not really setting up, has an issue with leg kicks. Now the division knows. He just needs a complete, and he can do it. And guys have done it, like Dominic Reyes. You look at him come back into his thing. Johnny Walker, kind of a little bit, right? He's going to need a complete new atmosphere, new coach, new approach to the game. But if he stays where he's at, you know, the light heavyweight's a little thin, so he might get 2 fights. But he loses one that's 4 in a row. It could get dicey for him. Might find himself looking for a different job. You know. He just hasn't evolved. And Khalil Rountree just did his job. Didn't take a ton of chances, lit up the legs, knocked them down a bunch. Khalil looked fantastic. And Jamahal, it was just not getting better, not making adjustments, not, you know, looks a little out of shape too, you know. Even though his cardio, he never looked like He-Man, but, you know, his cardio didn't look awful. His legs were compromised, but all he's looking for is that one shot. That's all he has. One trick pony in 2025, good luck. You know, I think he just needs to get with a real team who's going to study tape and break shit down and have a game plan and not just rely on that one shot. The guys are too good, especially a guy in Khalil Rountree who's pretty advanced when it comes to Muay Thai. You're not just going to land that one big fucking shot. It's just not going to happen. So he has to make some adjustments, and hopefully he does. What else you got, Jen?
Well, with Jamahal, do you think he could actually go down to 185? Because he looks like his body could totally lose a lot of fat. I mean, not a lot of fat, but a decent amount of fat.
He could definitely probably make 185. He definitely has a little bit of extra.
Dude, he does. It's
on him. Yeah. Loving cushion. That's a discipline thing. And it's similar to Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum, dude, if they had a 175 division, he should be a true 170er.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar with our boy Kevin Holland. You know, he'll fight at 85, but really his division's at 170, thrives at 170. For Jamahal Hill, it's a discipline thing. So cutting that amount of weight for Jamahal Hill's up, dude, you better be fucking on it, man. There's no leeway. There's no fucking around. Can't balloon up and get that gut between camps and shit like that. To be a professional, especially to fight at that weight class, middleweight, would be a real life-changing event for him. And he'd have to make so many changes. So I don't know. Would it be better for him? Yeah. Is 85 easier for him? No. Worse matchups. You know, those guys are more well-rounded, way more well-rounded, tougher division. DDP would eat his fucking lunch right now. You know? There's a lot of good guys at 85. Very well-rounded. Big, too. Disciplined. So, you know, for him, he's probably today like, what am I going to do? Yeah, 85 is an option. Boy, you're going to have to do a complete revamp on top of your approach inside the octagon. It's a lot of change, you know?
Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, Kevin Lee made his debut at PFL and got knocked out. Well, not knocked out, but pretty much TKO.
He got fucked up. They gave him a terrible matchup.
Yeah,
they didn't do him any fucking favors.
Yeah. So this is what he posted afterwards.
Because I'm not a coward. At least I can say that. I tried. I shot for the stars. My legs just aren't what they used to be. I can't absorb shots anymore. And honestly, I don't know if it will come back. It won't. Yeah, this stuff doesn't get better. And he fought an absolute fucking monster.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like they had to wire his mouth shut, which sucks.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. I love Kevin Lee. But, you know, that's how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, your boy also fought over the weekend, Andre, and bare knuckle.
Against Josh Copeland,
Yep.
both former training partners of mine.
There you go. And
Copeland and Justin Wren used to be best friends. And Justin and Josh were like brothers from a different mother. So Justin would always bring Josh with him. Josh didn't have fights and decided to start fighting. Orlovsky defeated Josh Copeland via 4th-round TKO. Wow. Is there highlights of that?
I'd rather not play them if there is.
There's nothing good. Andre Orlovsky just doing the damn thing. He's a tough one.
Yeah. So speaking of bare knuckle box, this is BKB. Paulie Malignaggi has a multi-fight deal with them now. He got messed up by
Artem.
The last fight.
Yeah, I love Paulie. One of the most brilliant minds in boxing. You know, he's great at what he does, but I just wish he wasn't fighting. But hopefully he wins.
Yeah. And so Ben Rothwell went into the cage or the ring afterwards. So if you remember, Arlovsky has like 2 wins over him. Like one's a decision unanimous and one's a KO. So this is a different sport entirely. It's
That'd be a fun fight.
yeah. And Ben's champion there.
Yeah, Ben's a problem over there. Ben was he's one of those guys like Mike Perry built for this.
Yeah.
He's a fucking problem. He's jacked right now too, man. I like Ben.
And what do you think about this matchup? Nasruddin Imavov versus Cal Braulio.
Good fight, solid fight, good for the division. You know,
Yeah. And that's going to be
tough
in
fight for
Paris.
both guys. Makes sense.
And Imavov's coming off that KO win over Izzy.
Yep.
Let me show you this real quick. This happened at the BKFC event. And that's Jessica Ai. That's her return to fighting.
Another girl has a lot of makeup on.
Yeah. Anyway, so she kissed her. I've seen this happen like 2 other times with girls.
I don't know what the fuck's going on there, dude.
All right. So, as you know, Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez are going to be fighting in September. And this is Dana White in between them during
Yeah, it seems
face-off.
forced. They're actually pretty friendly with each other. They like
I'll
each
show
other.
you
It
too.
seems super forced. Even that push wasn't great.
I know. It almost looks like they're just messing with each other, like having fun with each other.
Yeah, you can tell it's kind of forced.
And then Jake Paul posted this picture, reposted, I think, of Turkey, Al-Ashik, and Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez all having dinner together. Peaceful and nice. And then that's what Jake Paul says.
That's some goofy shit. Imagine Messi and Ronaldo coming dinner before a legit match against each other. Goofy. Yeah, Jake's right. Yeah, it's very. They're friendly. But again, I don't need beef to tune into that fight. They're great boxers. You just hope they actually go for it and try to put the other one out. That's what you're hoping for. Yeah, I don't need them to hate each other, but I don't know if you should be sharing meals and fucking talking, you know? But also that Sheik, I bet, forces him or he's going to kill him. So there's also that.
They want to make that
But he
paper
says,
too.
dude, he made Dana hold his hand. That's what you do,
No.
dude. Dana White hold another grown man's hand. He's like, oh, you guys having dinner with me? Like, well, no. Excuse me? Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, see you there. What time? 7? Okay. And we got to wear all white, at least a colored shade of white? Okay, you got it. Yes, sir. Yes, your majesty. Yeah. Made a deal with the devil.
Here's a quick little update on BJ Penn. He posted this on his Instagram. I'll just play a little bit of it and just see how he speaks. And it's just, I don't know what to say.
What's up, everybody? What's up? I'm at the courthouse right now. Gonna head in, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Of course, the court can do whatever it wants. This is for the TRO thing, and had this thing I want to read over there, but we'll see how it goes. The day before the TRO incident, I had a great talk with the woman who put the TRO on me. I will refer to them as fake Lorraine and fake Judy. In that conversation, we were talking about dropping all of the charges for the TRO and moving forward with the business side and giving me my fair share of the money that I put into my family's companies. I texted Judy and let him know.
Anyways, he's still calling his mom fake.
Yeah.
Fake mother,
Yeah,
and
he's
just
listening-
he's very like he speaks like a robot now.
Yeah, it doesn't end well. And why is he wearing a mask?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because if you're like anti-government, usually those and masks don't go hand in hand. But maybe he thinks there's like some disease that they're gonna put on him or some shit. I don't know. It doesn't end well, dude.
This is just a quick fun one. I guess for Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, he's most likely gonna have Lil Wayne walk him out.
Oh, that'd be sick. I'm in for that.
All right, let me show you this sequence here. This is from Glory Kickboxing. Here we go.
Close it. Break. The referee trying to get control of power. That's easier said than done.
Jesus Christ. The guy looks like a giant Topuria. Oof. Well, that guy in the gold is fucking relentless. Jesus Christ. How much testosterone is that guy on? Jesus Christ. Take it down a notch.
Check this part out too.
1 minus point. 1 minus point. 1 minus. Madam, it's the last one. After this one, you get disqualified. So don't do it, okay? So pointed time.
Jesus Christ. That guy's throwing. How's he not tired? Oh, no. He loses? Wow. He's like, what? Boom. Oh. Oh my God. That guy's pace is insane. Oh. Holy shnikes.
What a wild sequence, right?
Jesus Christ. I thought it was going to be some bullshit. God dang. What a clip.
Yeah, that's cool.
Insane fight.
Yeah. You're gonna save the 317 stuff with Jesse, right? So
Yeah, me and Jesse on Fire, my good buddy Jesse on Fire, doing a complete preview and breakdown and all UFC news this Thursday. So stay tuned for that. I'll keep you guys posted when it gets posted. Didn't mean to say that twice. But yeah, UFC 317 is here. You got Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira, Pantoja, Kai Kara France, Brandon Royval, Joshua Van, Dariush, Mikano, and then Peyton Talbot, who, you know, hopefully he gets it together. Jack Hermanson. All right. Do me a favor, Chin. Go to International Fight Week 2015. I just want to see how far the mighty have fallen.
UFC 189.
Yes.
Mendez versus McGregor.
Yeah, let me see that. Type in UFC 189. Let me see the fights on there. Let's compare that to what we're getting this weekend. So your headliner was Conor McGregor, Chad Mendez, Robbie Lawler, Roy McDonald, one of the greatest fights of all time. Jeremy Stevens, Dennis Bermudez, Gunnar Nelson, Brandon Thatch. Shout out to my boy Brandon Thatch, Denver native. Thomas Almeida, Brad Pickett, Matt Brown, Tim Means, Alex Garcia, Mike Swick, John Howard, Cody Garbrandt. Yeah. International Fight Week used to be massive, man. Massive. This card's not bad. It's not bad. Anytime you have two flyweight fights on there, it's a little dicey. Pantoja, Kai Kara France. I love Kai Kara France. I'm actually rooting for him. Brandon Royval, Joshua Van's a fun fight. Dariush Marcano. Solid card. It's not bad. I'm not hating on it. And obviously, Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira. That one's interesting, right? Again, I'm going to break it down with Jesse, but I'll just give a few thoughts here. Ilia Topuria is a big reason for a big favorite for a reason. I thought about this on the way over here. It's like, I was thinking, why is he such a big favorite? Because if you look at Ilia Topuria, he's fought at 55 before. Didn't look great, and this was before he was the El Matador, before he was the man. He's a minus 440 over a guy that's tried and true in the lightweight division. But I would assume he's a favorite, even though resume nowhere near as impressive. He's had big wins recently, but Charles Oliveira's body of work's fucking impressive, especially at 55. I would assume the odd makers are banking on a few things. Charles Oliveira gets hit. He does get hit. He takes hits. Can he survive a Topuria hit? I don't know. So he does get hit, and also his age. Age is a factor, So I'm thinking they're thinking that's a perfect blend that comes to fruition Saturday night. Age catches up with him, and he does get hit. Mm-hmm. That's what I think they're thinking on there. We'll see. But yeah, UFC 317 goes down this Saturday. Great card for you guys, International Fight Week. It is going down. You got Jake Paul, Cesar Chavez Jr. if you want. That doesn't do much for me, but, it is what it is. And then for legit breakdown of this weekend's fight card, shooting a show Thursday with Jesse on Fire, so stay tuned. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for doing all the things, support, everything. Till next time, be safe. I'm out.
What's up, guys? I'm giving away the Ultimate Ram TRX with over $50,000 in upgrade. This is one of one. You won't find another TRX on the road, or a truck for that matter, like this truck that I've built. It has over $50,000 in upgrades, and this truck could easily be yours. All you gotta do is go to drivefastallgas.com, pick up some merch, you're automatically entered to win. It's that easy. Good luck.